Okay, today we would explore a slightly deeper topic, but at a surface level, obviously. I might follow this up with a more detailed write up on this depending on interest in this. But for today, let's just explore this at the surface level. Okay. Um, the topic is, why will usability approaches be relevant for the foreseeable future in building human computer systems? Or why cannot AI and synthetic user research replace actual user research and usability methods in designing human computer systems? Okay, so if you explore the psychology of usability, there are two aspects, which are generalizable aspects, which is at least to a certain degree generalizable, versus non generalizable aspects. When I say generalizable psychological aspects, these relate to how humans perceive and consume information. And some examples are cognitive load and information processing, perceptual and visual hierarchy, memory and recall, error prevention and recovery, and things like that, right? So these are set of fairly generalizable principles that govern how systems can be designed for, and which can largely replicated by purely computer machine systems. But then there are also other aspects that cannot be replicated that easily, which are namely the namely the cultural aspects. um, when I say cultural, they're not necessarily the cultures that's determined by geographies and races and things like that, but at a more abstract level, or the target culture of who you are really designing for. That's what I mean. And this aspect is so nuanced that no computer machine system can clearly understand it to the level where it can be documented and replicated as a general model. I'm saying this because not even human level awareness and documentation or replication of these models exist today from target users culture standpoint, right? So that's why the discipline of user research, usability design, user-centered design still exists. That's because every problem is different, and every problem targets different sets of uh, target users and different kinds of target user cultures. So at least today there is no system which clearly documents it, and hence not understandable from a generative artificial intelligence standpoint. And will be interesting to see how much of AGI, or artificial general intelligence, can bridge this, though it is not going to happen in the foreseeable future, primarily from my understanding, primarily because it is not documented largely, even from a human perspective. Okay. And these are some of my arguments as to why target cultures are hard to learn. I will not claim these to be my original thoughts, because these I have to give credits to first Professor Greenstein for teaching me almost 2 decades back, and for Deborah Mayhew for her book, The Usability Engineering Life Cycle, in which she discusses some of these concepts, not in this context, but in a completely different context. But I feel that most of those arguments are still relevant. So, first line of argument is that most behaviors in target cultures are tacit, and they are not directly extractable with structured questioning approaches. Why is this important? Because really, observations and human experience really hold the key to decoding most of these information. And because of this, not even expert level uh, humans can come up with previous knowledge of this various nuances of these target cultures, which I mentioned earlier. And That's why quantitative research cannot answer many of these questions. And some people talk about what the value, the disproportionately high value that you can get with qualitative research with some of these things, right? So, and this is true for the types of activity that we are discussing today, because mostly talking about blue sky research and those kind of activities, which largely require a clear understanding of the target culture. Okay. um, And also, because qualitative research do not rely heavily on clearly defined hypotheses. In fact, if you use clearly defined hypotheses for blue sky research, you are going to miss. It is actually going to be detrimental than a value addition, because it is too rigid of a framework to work off of from a qualitative research standpoint. And a force structure that is imposed can never equate to how users achieve real goals under less than ideal conditions. And these conditions cannot be really replicated by computer machine systems. That's my understanding. Please challenge it with any level of accuracy. It's also important not to skew the language used by the users, since translation to the researchers' language will almost always result in loss of fidelity or quality of the understanding of the current task, thereby missing crucial data, which will help in how we can fix with re-engineered approaches, or for an expert system in case of an expert system, or just a smart solution which did not previously exist in case of a consumer system. So, really, in short, researcher must learn the language of the target user, and thus that of the culture, right? So, it's also important to clearly state any assumptions, and not let any assumptions bias the interviewer to interpret the scenario in an inaccurate fashion. So, that is like point number five. And rather, all these assumptions should be tested rigorously for accuracy. So these are my lines of argument in terms of why synthetic users research, or like research by a model, a computer model, or computer human system environments that can be kind of it's possible to think of infinite experiments and deducing some of these things, but those things cannot answer, at least as yet, these kind of cultural aspects, uh, or target cultures aspects in terms of how target users would be perceiving uh, a future system. So I hope this is a clear line of argument. If there are any AI scientists out here, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please poke any holes in this. I will stop here. And if there is sufficient interest, and if this creates enough interest, I might create a series on this, or write a little more deeply about this. Until we meet again,